I'm a 27-year-old office worker. My face, height, and grades are all average. I've never had any special talents since I was a kid, but there was one thing I was proud of. That is my high communication skills. Maybe because my family ran a store and there were always people coming and going, I never shied away from people from a young age. I could easily strike up conversations with anyone I met for the first time and get along with anyone. My parents often praised me for this. It in turn further enhanced my communication skills. I've always been proactive in speaking and engaging with people since I can remember. Perhaps that's why I am currently being asked to do an incredible favor by a boss I've only ever spoken to at work.
Will you marry me?
After work, my boss Simon Martinez told me with a serious face.
Excuse me? What did you say?
I said, I want you to marry me.
Simon is 35 years old. He is in great shape and has a distinguished look. He's serious about his work and is well regarded among the female staff. He's divorced, with a rather grown child. He's somewhat my type, and I don't find it impossible to see him as a man of interest. However, the problem is, I've never felt any affection from him. I responded with a joking smile.
Simon, do you like me?
No, it's not like that.
Then why the proposal? Is this some kind of punishment game?
No.
Simon frowned and sighed.
I thought my son might open up to you.
Your son?
That was utterly incomprehensible. He awkwardly scratched his head and glanced at his watch.
If you're okay with it, would you like to go out for dinner now and listen to me?
Going out for dinner with my boss was definitely a new experience for me, but I couldn't just go home like that.
If you're paying, I'll go.
Sure. Eat whatever you like.
Thus, I went to a bar with Simon. It was a bustling chain bar. We were in a semi-private room there. As we continued our conversation, I understood. It seemed Simon wasn't looking at me as a woman, but as someone to take care of his child. His son named Tyler is a 13-year-old middle schooler. Simon lost his wife 5 years ago, and has been raising Tyler on his own ever since. Tyler is being in the midst of puberty. It's hard to imagine he'd desperately want a new mother through remarriage.
Why did you suddenly think you needed a mother? Frankly, I don't think a 13-year-old needs a new mom.
It's been about 5 years since my wife passed away, but I've never really known how to connect with my son. We've always had this strange barrier between us. It was fine until recently, though.
Simon said, his voice fading as he took a sip from his glass.
So?
Lately, he's been very hostile towards me, and it's either ignore me or argue whenever we see each other.
Indeed, that would be mentally exhausting.
My wife's parents and mine are no longer with us, so there's no one else to turn to. So I thought, since you always get along with everyone.
You thought I could mediate between you and your son?
Yes.
You got it. I understand.
I understood the situation, but not his reasoning.
But wouldn't it be quicker to just have a heart-to-heart talk with your son than to remarry?
I've tried many times, but it never worked. Each time, the situation only got worse.
Okay.
I took a sip of drink and looked at him intently.
Simon, I think you could find a better girl to marry than me, don't you think?
Are you saying you're about to turn me down?
No, it's just how I honestly feel. Wouldn't you prefer someone cute who can do all the housework? I may be good at communicating, but I'm not cut out to be the perfect wife and mother.
He chuckled softly.
Don't sell yourself short. Maybe it's because you remind me of her.
As I tilt my head, he looked at me as if he were looking at someone dear to him.
Emily, there's something about you that reminds me of my wife.
Oh, really?
I found myself unexpectedly charmed by his unusually gentle expression.
Besides, I don't see any problem dedicating my life for the sake of my son.
I know, but what about my life getting caught up in this?
Yes, marriage is a significant part of life. I can't agree to it just like that. but I can't just leave it be after hearing all this.
Let's see, for now, I'll become friends with your son.
Wait, there is a big generation gap between you two.
I think being friends is more realistic than marrying you. Age doesn't matter in friendship.
A few days later, I visited Simon's house to get to know his son Tyler.
Nice to meet you, I'm Tyler.
Nice to meet you too, I'm Emily.
For context, the idea was that I wanted to be friends with my younger brother and needed his help. Tyler was like a middle school version of Simon, but more adaptable because he hadn't aged awkwardly. He was suspicious at first, but that was my time to shine. I quickly closed the distance between us. Every holiday, I'd visit Simon's home and spend time with the three of us. Simon and Tyler were awkward at first, but Tyler and I found common ground in games, comics, etc., and gradually became friends. Eventually, while Simon was out shopping, Tyler and I got to the point where we could talk about Simon.
Do you really dislike your dad that much?
Tyler immediately replied that he didn't.
I don't dislike him. It's more like he doesn't care about me.
I thought that couldn't be true since Simon was considering remarriage for his son's sake.
Your dad said you're the most important thing to him.
I tried, but Tyler brushed it off with a laugh.
No need to worry. He's all about his work.
Both seemed to be having a big misunderstanding. Clearing up this misunderstanding could make them get along better. With that thought, I was planning my strategy while playing a video game with Tyler. Then one day, Simon received a call from Tyler's school. Tyler had gotten into a fight with a classmate and injured them. The classmate was only slightly hurt, and they had already made up, but that wasn't the first time Tyler had caused trouble. The teacher said,
I understand it's tough without a mother at home, but we need the father to keep closer eyes. We'll just inform you so you can discuss it at home.
After hearing that from Simon, we rushed to his house. Entering the living room, we found Tyler slumped over the sofa.
Dad and Emily.
Tyler looked up at us with slightly red eyes. Simon covered his face with his right hand as soon as he saw Tyler.
Tyler, why do you keep causing trouble?
No, it's not like that.
Tyler began to say something, but Simon cut him off and continued.
You're 13, right? You should be able to solve this with words.
That's true, but
I get it. You have your side of the story. But what's the use of resolving it with violence? I'll apologize to the other party. Just don't worry about it. Just be more careful from now on.
Listen to me.
Tyler stormed up to Simon, making his footsteps heard.
Hey, listen, you're always like this, jumping to conclusions without hearing me out, and you never scold me either. Do you even care about me at all?
Tyler grabbed Simon's tie and pulled it up.
No.
Simon was passive, looking down without resistance, seemingly at a loss for words.
You won't say anything even now. Are you even a father? Okay, forget it.
Tyler let go of Simon and left the living room with a tearful look.
Simon, what are you spacing out for? Go after him.
Even if I do, I don't know what to say to him. Just like he said, maybe I don't have what it takes to be a father.
Before I knew it, my right hand had forcefully caught Simon's cheek, and my palm was tingling with heat.
Emily. What are you?
I'm sorry. It's just that you were being so foolish. I couldn't help but give you a wake-up slap.
Huh?
I grabbed his hand squarely and pulled him towards me. His eyes widened in surprise.
To someone like you, who's ready to devote his life to his son. There's no way you're not qualified to be a father. What you and your son are missing is just communication. That's all.
Holding onto his hands, I chased after Tyler. A middle school boy's legs are fast. I stepped out of the house and looked around, but he was already out of sight. Of course, there was no response when I called his cell phone.
This is too bad. Simon, any ideas? Maybe a friend's house?
Simon shook his head beside me.
I can't think of a single close friend's name at a time like this. I guess I really am a failure as a father.
He covered his eyes with his hands and looked down. Without affirming or denying, I kept calling the phone. After a while, Simon suddenly looked up.
There's one place that comes to mind. Is it okay if we go check it out?
Sure. Where is it?
Following him, we arrived at a nearby park.
Before my wife passed away, every time she got mad at Tyler, he'd run off to this park, and I would always come here to pick him up.
The park had become slightly dark and was enveloped in silence, not a child or person in sight. We checked inside the playground equipment just in case, but Tyler was nowhere to be found.
I guess he's not here. It's been years since then.
Simon.
Simon's shoulders dropped. I had hoped his only lead would pan out, but it seems it was not meant to be. I sighed, realizing we were back to square one, and turned around. Then, my eyes met with a figure standing at the entrance of the park.
Right there. That's Tyler.
What?
It seemed he had stopped by a burger shop before coming to the park. Holding a paper bag in one hand, he saw me and quickly turned to leave.
My goodness, he's going to run.
It was just as I thought that. Simon, who had been by my side, sprinted off and caught Tyler in a full embrace. Despite being immobile at home, he moved with surprising speed. Firmly hugged by Simon, Tyler struggled desperately, but to no avail due to the difference in their sizes.
Let go. Darn. How did you know I'd be here?
I've always been the one to come pick you up from here, haven't I?
Tyler stopped moving suddenly.
You hadn't forgotten, huh?
Yeah. Just like now, I used to bring you back home crying.
I'm not crying now.
Every time we got home, your tears and snot would stain my shirt. You always laughed about it, right?
Towards the end, Simon's voice trembled as he hugged Tyler tighter.
Tyler, you've grown up so much.
His voice, almost a whisper, sounded like he was holding back tears. Tyler seemed to feel it too, and for a while, they just held each other. Minutes later, we bought some ready-made meals from a supermarket on our way home. It was past 7 o'clock. Simon suggested me.
It's getting late, you should probably head home.
But leaving this clumsy father and son alone now would obviously lead to a predictable outcome. I said,
I'll leave once things are settled.
And entered the house, dinner in hand. Even after sitting down at the table and finishing their meals, both of them awkwardly opted for silence. See, just as I thought, this tongue-tied father and son needed someone to mediate. After finishing the last bite, I clapped my hands.
Come on, you guys were just hugging each other, and now being shy. You two are family. Let's get everything off your chests and clear the air.
Both looked at each other and got bewildered, but after a moment, Simon began to speak.
Tyler, why do you keep causing problems? Do we really need a mother to keep things straight?
Literally, Simon is always straight to the point. Tyler shook his head vigorously in response to the blunt question.
It's not that.
He started to say, but then looked down. The room fell silent again. Simon was staring anxiously at his son, probably unable to guess what would come next. Sensing the situation, I decided to throw Simon a lifeline.
Tyler just wanted some attention from you, Simon.
Huh?
Simon let out a bewildered sound. Tyler's face turned blushed, and he fell silent.
No, Tyler wouldn't think that. He hates me, after all.
I don't hate you. Don't hate you.
Tyler repeated emphatically. Simon looked utterly baffled as he regarded Tyler. Tyler muttered.
Today, for example, I only pushed him because he was mocking you.
After a glance at me, Simon turned back to Tyler.
But you told me not to even come to any school events.
That was because I thought you couldn't take time off work.
And you refused to let me cook dinner.
You're tired from work. I can't expect you to do household chores too. Plus, I'm simply a better cook than you.
What about locking yourself in your room as soon as you get home?
I was just embarrassed. You know, puberty and all.
Misunderstandings began to unravel into words. With each question from Simon and answer from Tyler, their expressions softened. After getting all his questions answered, Simon sported a refreshingly sincere smile, saying,
I see.
something I'd never seen before. Simon ruffled Tyler's hair. Tyler looked away, embarrassed, but from the outside, they were just a close-knit father and son. It seemed everything would be okay, finally.
Well, I should be heading home then.
Oh, thank you.
As I stood up, Simon casually tried to see me off, but Tyler chided him.
It's late because of us. You should at least offer Emily a ride.
They whispered to each other for a bit, more after a slightly blushed Simon came over and said,
Please let me drive you home.
working late hours isn't uncommon for me, so I insisted, I'll be fine, but Tyler pushed, and I ended up in Simon's car.
Thank you.
No problem. We kept you until this late.
We chatted about trivial things until we reached the nearest grocery store to my house.
I can drive you all the way home if you'd like.
No, that's okay. I want to stop by the store anyway.
As I was about to get out, Simon suddenly grabbed my bag.
Wait.
You're not going to say it's awkward to go back and face Tyler alone, are you?
No, I mean,
He looked away, then whispered in a thin voice.
I like you, Emily.
What?
His hand slipped off my bag, and he covered his blushed face.
Don't make me say it again.
But... Are you serious?
As he started to sweat, pressing him revealed his sincerity. That Simon could show such vulnerability was a revelation. Amid my surprise, I felt a flutter of excitement.
So? What do you want me to do with that?
What?
Saying you like me is one thing. I can only say thank you in response.
You've got a mean streak.
Thank you.
With sweating profusely and stammering, he finally managed to say in an even thinner voice.
Please marry me.
Skipping straight to marriage was so like Simon. A rush of emotions I had never felt before overwhelmed me. Was that what love felt like?
We'll have to get Tyler's approval first.
I replied, to which Simon blurted out in desperation.
He pushed me into it. Said no one but someone like you could handle me.
I decided then to use my proud communication skills for Simon and Tyler. If his late wife really resembled me, she'd surely be looking down on Simon and smirking.
Leave it to me, ma'am. I'll take good care of your two boys.